Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-A Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
And we welcome you to this edition of Night Shift here on the Black and Gold Banneret. I'm Eric Lopez. As UCF victorious by a final score of 14-10. As UCF victorious here on a great win there, winning the deal there. So I'm Eric Lopez here. Coming up, we'll be joined by hopefully by Tre Neal here shortly to talk about this victory as the Knights were defensive-minded, if you will, winning this football game. As the Knights are bowl eligible. We'll talk to Tre Neal, hopefully, on that. Plus, what's ahead against SMU. That and much more coming up. As you're listening here to, of course, Black and Gold Banneret, reminder, you can like us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page and, of course, like us there. Give us a thumbs up, as well as you like us on Facebook. And as well as on blackandgoldbanneret.com. That's where you want to make sure that you follow all our great content. Andrew Glukoff is at the game, and he will be certainly going to be giving your knee-jerk reactions. So that should be a lot of fun, to say the least. So, without further ado, let's see what happens with this game, though, first. A defensive game. Some would call it ugly. Some would call it a defensive stand. It depends on your perspective. All I know is UCF wins this game 14-10 thanks to their defense as they held Tulane to 10 points. An offense that struggled through most of the game, couldn't get the running game going. Tulane, I thought, did a great job taking away UCF's running game. Isaiah Bowser clearly not 100%. But the thing that's encouraging to me is this team found a way to win with their defense. And I think that's a growth that's going to pay off in the long run from a football standpoint. And I think that's a huge plus. That's a huge plus for this football team that they found a way to win defensively. And I think this will, in the long run, make them a more of a long-term, better football team. I just think to try to win a game one-dimensional 45-42 can only take you so far. I know people love offense, but at the end of the day, having a defense to help you win the game helps out. If you look at the stats real quick here, as I will load up the stats there, you might see there. Tulane, 279 total yards, UCF 277. Tulane had 147 yards passing, 229 for Mikey Keene, who went 19 of 25, 229, 2 touchdowns, very economical. Tulane ran for 132 yards. UCF only ran for 48. This was a pretty close game, maybe closer than some Knight fans would have liked. But at the end of the day, it's about finding a way to win. UCF was held to 1.5 yards a carry. Tulane only 3.7. Both defenses were just a better, really, the two strongest positions today. Certainly offensively, there'll be a lot of questions there. But defensively, they were tremendous. All right, let's bring in now our guest. He is, of course, former UCF DB, of course, the man who made the interception against Memphis, part of the 2017 National Championship. I speak of Tre Neal, who's kind of adding Black and Gold Banneret analyst to his title here. Tre, I'm telling you, every time you come to our show, defense is the story, and no different today as UCF defensively won this game, honestly, a 14-10 victory over Tulane. What was your initial thoughts on this game?
Defense played lights out. I think, they that key sack at the end by 37. I always forget his name.
You're a numbers guy.
Yeah. Coach O'Leary was, so that's how that was the first thing I kind of learned. But he made a great play. Bullard, yeah, that's his name. Yeah, he made a great play at the end that saved it. But, I mean, overall, the defense, they played really well, really sound. The blitzes were timed perfect. I felt like they played coverage perfectly. I felt like they played everything pretty great. And that's, again, they're building off, and they look like a completely different team. Even just 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago when they played, they look even better and a lot more sharper. So, I mean, that's really all you can ask for from that side. Offense, they struggled a little bit, but, when your defense is playing like that, let them play. Let those guys play and make plays. So.
Well, you mentioned Bullard. He had 9 total tackles, 6 solos, a sack. You mentioned that sack. That was huge down in that fourth. Mm-hmm. A great blitz call there from Travis Williams in that last drive that really Pratt didn't see coming. Kind of see what you break down what you saw in that play, because that was a big turning point in that drive, because it looked like Tulane was going ahead to drive for that go-ahead score, but that blitz really turned the momentum of that drive around.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, I see that Coach Will, he blitzes his DBs a lot, which I like, because really the O-linemen don't account for DBs for the most part. I mean, unless they're standing like in the linebacker spot, when they're coming from the, from the outside, from the slot, they're not accounting for them. That's where the running back has to pick up. And I don't know if you noticed at the end, the running back was looking to the right. He should have picked up the Bullard on that play, because he's a free hitter. The running back's supposed to scan and pick up, but he only stayed right. So the quarterback didn't see him. So, I mean, it was a great play call. I think, he blitzes, Bullard, he blitzes Hodges. I love it. He blitzes the corners. That's a fun way to play DB, just from speaking DB, That's definitely fun to play. And, he deploys them well. So I think that's why the defense is playing so well, because he just, the play calling as well right now.
Trey, this team kind of the last few weeks, this kind of reminded me of the 2016 team, which you were a part of, where you had a freshman quarterback that's trying to learn on the fly, unexpectedly due to injury to the starter. And the defense kind of had to carry the load. In 16, you all had to carry the load because the offense had their ups and downs, but you really carried the load and get into that bowl game down to the Cure Bowl. And I feel like right now, that's where UCF is, where their defense, you look at their dominant against Temple, but they won the East Carolina game defensively, and here today against Tulane. Do you see some of the similarities there?
Yeah, I think that's where I told you a couple of weeks when I was on. This team reminds me of 2016 so much. I mean, just, the not inexperience on offense, but, I mean, there's a lot of young guys that are making plays, and then you're leading it at quarterback. I know O'Keefe's a young guy. Bowser is an older guy, but, they got a freshman at quarterback. So there's only, people that complain about, let's open up the playbook. I mean, you don't want to open it up too much, because it leads to more mistakes, because it's more thinking. You just kind of want, let Keene just go out there and make plays. I think that's what it was in 2016, trying to let McKenzie just go out there and make plays. When you got a defense that was playing how well we were, just let them make plays. And if you make some mistakes, that's fine. Just don't make detrimental mistakes at the end. And I think, the way the defense is playing right now, that's a great comparison. That's the comparison I've made, First year under a new head coach, new system, new scheme. You might start out a little slow, but, once you start getting the grasp of things, that's what's going to happen. They're going to start picking it up, and, that's what they're doing right now. And the defense is playing. They're playing lights out right now.
Yeah, I want to ask you about some of the players. I want to go through some of the stats. Bethune, 11 tackles total, 4 solos, half a sack, 2 tackles for a loss, and a breakup. Just talk about him. He has really risen his game this season. Right now, to me, he's among the defensive MVPs. Bryce Armstrong, 11 tackles total, 7 solos. He had a sack. We've talked about Bullard. You mentioned, how about Hodges, who you were impressed with a couple weeks ago? Justin Hodges, 5 tackles total, 3 solos, these are starting guys. Guys are starting to make plays and feeling more confident. We've talked about that before, Trey, but we're seeing it on the field more and more, aren't we?
Yep, exactly. I told you, I've been talking about Bethune since he first got there. He's a stud, man. I've talked to a lot of guys that played linebacker in the past, like Pat, Shaquan, a lot of those guys. And I talk about, some of those guys now, and he's a stud. That's one of those guys that's going to be playing, hopefully he'll play a lot of football. But, he's playing really well, really solid. 30, he's finally settling in. I know earlier, I was kind of, he looked kind of a little lost earlier in the season, but now he's settling in, as kind of like hybrid backer safety kind of guy, and that can play well in space. So he's playing really well. I've talked about Bullard and Hodges, but, those guys are just, again, this is they're 6-3 now, bowl eligible. This is 9 games in. This is the trajectory. This is all you could ask. Is for the team to be, continue to get better on that side of the ball. I know offensively people would want more, but I mean, we have a freshman at quarterback. So, that growth is going to be kind of limited, but defensively, these guys are playing and we're missing, KD up front, who's a monster. So it's just one of those things where the defense is only going to keep getting better. And then, they get more experience. They're going to finish this year out. Hopefully they finish it out strong. And then they get to the offseason where you can go back and watch tape and be like, oh, man, this is what I should do in this situation. So then, as they get to the spring and then next year, they should be even better defense.
I agree. More exposure. UCF's running game was shut down today by Tulane. Bowser, who's clearly not 100% healthy. They've even said that. Was held to 14 carries, 54 yards. Johnny Richardson had 7 carries, 19 yards, but made some big plays there late. 3 catches, 26 yards. What did you see from Tulane's defense that gave UCF problems as far as rushing the football? Because they just were not able to run the football against Tulane. And Tulane pretty much kind of said, we dare you to beat us with the pass, it seemed like.
Yep. I mean, that's the game plan I would do for any freshman that's thrown in the fire. I'm going to stop the run and make a freshman beat me, and there are some guys, talking about the Trevor Lawrences of the world who will beat you, those are NFL guys, but the normal freshman isn't, they're not prepared to handle that kind of stuff. You want to kind of take the load off just as a coach. You don't want the freshman to have to make all the plays. You just want them to, be comfortable, make the throws. And I think King did that today. I think they took away the pass game. And I think late, I've been harping so much, just talking to myself watching the game. It's either a 3-step drop or it's just take a deep shot. And I'm like, there's no really work in that 10 to 15 yard middle of the field kind of throws for him. But late, that's what they were getting on. I mean, I know they converted a long 3rd and I think 13. And it's one of those things where, if you can attack the middle of the field and you can attack intermediate range and make those throws, then it kind of opens up a lot more. So I'm glad that, they were able to do that. And then that was a great pass that he had late in the game to Brent Johnson for that last touchdown. That was
Brandon Johnson, yeah. Transfer from Tennessee. His dad, of course, Charles Johnson, former Marlins catcher, great part of the World Series title in '97. That was a big play, too, 2nd and 17. And, Mikey, part of the issues I think at times, and I was talking to our guys, Andrew Blukoff, and who's in the press box, and part of the issue has been receivers haven't been getting open. That's why I think at times you've seen King get sacked. So, it's easy to dissect the quarterback position, but these receivers haven't helped them at times either. And I think that's why, and part of that, I don't know if that's chemistry, I don't know what it is, but that's been part of their offensive deal. But I agree with you. I think unless Dylan Gabriel comes back, which we don't know, as long as Mikey Keene is under center, teams are going to dare him to beat him with the pass. And, he's just it's a tough learning curve for him. I wondered as a defensive player, because you were in the same boat in 16 when McKenzie was going through the growing pains. As a defense, do you get a sense that oh man, our offense is in for a tough day, we got to kind of help him out here? Do you get that sense? Do you guys block that out? I've always been interested from a defensive player perspective. Do you notice that when the offense is going through growing pains?
Oh, yeah. I mean, 100%. I think it's more so, it's a mentality you have. I know in 15, where we lost a lot of games, we kind of a lot of the times would be like, oh, offense is doing bad. Well, I guess we can't win. Instead of, taking the initiative for ourselves and be like, why can't we go win the game? And I think that was the kind of mental switch that we did in 2016 was, we were like, we got McKenzie at quarterback. Okay, we can't change that. What we can change and what we can control is playing lights out on defense. And, I think once we kind of bought into that, we don't even worry about the offense. We used to tell McKenzie if they went for it on 4th down, didn't get it, we got you. We got your back. Don't worry about it. We're going to get a stop and you're going to get back out there and go make a play, And I think once you bounce that confidence off each other, that's all you can really do. And I think that kind of stuff grows and I tell people the story all the time. I remember we did that to them. We would beat them in practice all the time. I mean, every single day. And then it flipped in 2017, one day in camp, they kicked our butts. And then now this is the offense that people expect to see all the time, and that's just, it happens and it's growing pains. And, as long as the defense is keeping those guys up and letting them know they have their back as they have the past couple of weeks, they're going to be fine.
Well, and I think that's why I'm really excited that they won this way, because I know fans love the 52-45 games, but I get it. But to me, we've seen the faults in that, in particular the last couple of years. At some point, I feel that this is going to pay off in the long term. There better be a better, more rounded team. I don't think this team was a very good complementary football team the last couple of years. So the defense was left out on the field a lot. It's hard to recruit defensive players when you're being made out to look bad. So I think this is, even though it's not great to watch right now, I do think this pays off long term, that, hey, you can win here with defense. That's something that Gus addressed when he got here, that he was all about the defense. And Travis Williams, and I know you've been impressed with Coach Williams and the defensive staff and what they've been doing there. Do you get a sense that people, because I think people forget during the Frost era that defense was held accountable, and made plays. I think people have this idea that it wasn't, but it really was. Like, I remember Frost would even slow down the offense and mix it up to help your defense and adjust. We haven't seen that recently, and I think fans now are just getting used to this. But I think this will pay off in the long run, not only from a on-the-field performance, but from a recruiting standpoint.
Definitely. When I was recruited, that's what, we were scoring points, but I knew some of the guys, how great they were at defense. One of the guys I was backed up with, Clayton Gathers, who was, he's an NFL guy. So, just coming from that, that's where I think, with Coach Frost initially, we emphasized it a lot. We knew our offense would be great. He's coming from Oregon, which at the time was one, that was the style that everybody wanted to have, the Oregon offense. But Coach Chins, he was big on, as great as the offense is, why can't we be great on defense as well? And, I think once that kind of got lost over the past couple of years is, we're putting up a lot of points, but we're not stopping anybody. So the second that we struggle on offense, then what are we going to do? It's not like the defense has any confidence. So, I don't think that they were playing with all that confidence. And now that you see them playing with confidence, I think the offense is going to come along. And I think it's coming along well. I just think a lot of guys that are important are banged up. It sucks to have, when you have a junior quarterback that's a stud, Dylan's a stud. Just to have him lose him to injury, I think that just kind of halters what people expected. Because early on, I thought the offense was playing pretty well. And the defense was the one that was kind of behind. But now I think it's kind of reversed. And, as long as they're winning games, that's all that matters. And as long as, guys aren't pointing the blame as, the offense is terrible. No, the offense is just struggling, just like you guys were struggling earlier in the year. I think if that's how it's going in the locker room, they'll be completely fine. But, we definitely, 2016 and 17, we were accountable. And whether we gave up a lot of points, and I tell people, I'm like, we were going up against some of the best offenses in the country that year, in 2017. Memphis was the number 2 scoring offense in the country. USF was, I think they were top 10. SMU was top 15. So it's not like we were going against slouches. We were going against NFL guys out there. So, I think, we were just optimistic and we took the challenge and just accepted it. But I think that's what these guys are doing now. And I think that's, I love watching defensive games. I'm a defensive guy at heart. So, I love watching slugfest. I love watching low-scoring games because every play matters and not just, let's go throw a 75-yard bomb and then we're going to go throw another 75-yard bomb and just keep doing it. It's exciting for the fans, but as a player, it's like it's almost like a track meet, and if I wanted to do that, I'd go run track.
Great line.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
This is the Black and Go Better at Night Shift. I'm Eric Lopez alongside Tre Neal. UCF victorious 14-10. From a defensive standpoint, what are you seeing there from Mikey Keene there? Do you like what you see? There's some, at times I feel like the things are still a little slow for him in reacting at times. And you mentioned earlier about that's probably one of the reasons you don't want to open up the playbook for a kid because that could complicate things more. What are you seeing from him every time he drops back or is in the shotgun?
I think it's just, again, I was taking this more they're more so trying to protect them, which I get it. So a lot of the stuff is just going to be 3-step. It's a quick read, 3-step, make your throw. Or it's going to be a max protect. Let's throw it deep. So I don't think they're really reading the progressions throughout the defense and reading what he's seeing. It's kind of there. I think they're kind of structuring it more so. Hey, this is where you're going to be looking to go for the ball throw the ball to. And if you don't have it, look for your check down. I don't think it's really like progression 1, 2, 3 check down. Because it's it moves fast, and as a freshman, that's a lot. Especially in that quarterback, you have to know the protections. You have to know where the hot's going. There's so much more at quarterback than any position. But I think he's playing well. I think he's going with the ball the right places. I don't think he's turning the ball over anything. Something crazy an amount. I mean, it's just a normal amount of turnovers that anybody would have. But I think he's being smart with the ball. I think he's playing confident. It doesn't look like he's losing any confidence, which, I think is big. I don't think he feels like he's limiting the team in any way. I just think he's, running the game plan, which that's all he can do. I think he's playing well, though.
And he's finding some chemistry with Ryan O'Keefe, who had another big game, 11 catches, 94 yards, and a touchdown. What are you seeing there from Ryan O'Keefe, who's really stepped up this game here over the last few weeks?
Yeah, with Flash going down, he's the guy that's that right now that's had to step up. It was a good little duo, a trio group of guys they had with Flash, O'Keefe, and Brandon Johnson earlier. But with him going down, O'Keefe's kind of had to step up into that Flash role, which he's playing well. So I think whenever they get all these guys back healthy again, the offense is going to be really, really explosive. But O'Keefe is playing well, coming through jet sweeps, running routes. He's using his track speed. He's 10-5, 10-4 kind of runner. So the fact that he can use that on the field, it stresses out defense. And I think that's what, Coach Malzahn is doing really well, is just utilizing that speed, because everybody on the field is not running 10-4. I promise you that. So the fact that you can utilize it, he's doing it.
Why is UCF's running game so different when Isaiah Bowser is in the mix and when he's not in the mix? And the reason I ask that is he's clearly not 100% healthy. We'll see what his status is moving forward. Today, every team's made an effort to shut him down. But when he's out, they tend to struggle in the past. Now, Richardson made some plays today, so hopefully that's a positive step. What is it that makes Bowser so important to this team?
I think it's just, it's almost an old school type of football. That kind of back, I mean, he's a bigger back. He's 225, probably 230, 6'1" kind of guy. So every time you got to tackle him, you're going to feel it, So I think just having him, I know early in the year they were running him 25, 30 times a game. So that kind of wear and tear on the defense, that opens up guys like Jay Flash. That opens up guys like Brandon. It opens up guys like the tight end, and opens up the play action. When you don't have that not necessarily that run game, but that physicality of football, that kind of stuff kind of lets the defense kind of get, juiced up. We used to love playing teams that hated to run the football, because we're like, we're going to be the physical ones on the field. But it's not like we hated hitting, but we don't want to play a team that's just going to run and hit and hit and hit every single play, because it wears you down. But then when you got to cover the pass, you're wore out, and you got the receivers who are fresh. So, I think that's what Coach Malzahn kind of misses with Bowser. And I think that, if you can get him healthy and he can, kind of get back to playing that physical like how he was earlier in the year, I think the offense will take another step as well and open up kind of a lot more for, the offense and the motion and the jet sweeps and stuff.
Now, this team will get set to take on SMU next week. SMU is struggling. They've now lost 2 in a row. They lost to Memphis earlier today. They have a dynamic offense with Mordecai at the quarterback, Galcatera at tight end, both Oklahoma transfers, Sonny Dykes offensively. I don't know how much of SMU you've seen, but what's your thoughts on SMU now? Give me an early preview here on SMU.
That quarterback and tight end, they're really good. I know I remember watching them in Oklahoma. It's an explosive offense. That's the same guy that's been there when we were playing. So, he's going to keep on they're going to score points. And, I think that's going to be a great challenge for the defense to kind of see where they're at. These teams that we played recently, I'm glad that we're holding them to 14 points, because guess what? That's what we're supposed to do against these kind of teams. We're supposed to hold them to less than 7 points, less than 10 points. That's what we're supposed to do. But once we get challenged, like when we're playing a Cincinnati team who's explosive on offense, I don't want to see us shut down against them. Points are going to get scored. That's what great offenses do. And it's an offensive type of game nowadays with how they're reffing it and how they're calling it. But I just want to, hopefully that when we play SMU, guys are just flying around making plays, and whoever's the most physical team is most likely going to win most of those kind of games.
What do you want to see from this team now in that game and even moving forward, either offensively or defensively? What are going to be some of the keys for this team? Because the SMU offense will present a different challenge for this defense. With all due respect to Tulane and Temple, this is a dynamic offense, and they're going to be on the road. What are some of the things they got to have to do?
Again, it's going to be a road game. You're going to be going up against a team who early on was looking like they wanted to get a shot at Cincinnati for this the conference title, and they were playing real confident. I mean, they were a top 25 ranked team, and they were playing with confidence. Now they're going to be coming off of 2 losses. They're going to be pissed off, and you're going to be getting them at home. So it's going to be one of those games where get ready. The crowd's going to be rowdy, and they're going to want to put up 50. That's how those offensive teams do when they're slacking and when they're playing not so well. They want to put up 50 the next game. So I think the defense just have to be able to weather the storm. Offensively, again, I want to see Keene maybe just make some more intermediate throws. I think if he can do that, I think that, and again, if they can get Bowser back and kind of kill the clock and drain out the defense and keep the offense off the field, that's the best defense you can play against a high explosive offense. Keep them off the field. So I think you're going to have to be effective running the ball on offense, and just be efficient, and not turn the ball over. And if you can do that, anything can happen, as you see.
Fans will be speculating. I think media will be speculating. About Dylan Gabriel. When does he come back? If he comes back, some people wonder if he might come back for the SMU game. We have no idea as we talk right now. That being said, what I'm curious about, he's been gone since Louisville. Would it be a good idea for him to even come back to play in a game like this against SMU? Are you running the risk of rust there? How much is rust a big factor there? Kind of, what do you think about that? Because that's going to be a debate here until we know one way or the other. Either he's out for the year or he might come back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know the extent. Because I'm not there, so I don't know, the rehab he's going through. I don't know how he's been practicing, if he's practicing. But I mean, to me, football, you can never just get in shape playing football until you actually play against somebody else. Because this great thing about him, he's playing quarterback, so he doesn't take hits until game day. So you're not going to really know how he's going to feel rusty. He's going to be able to make all the throws in practice. If he's healthy right now, he'll make all the throws in practice because he's not getting hit. Even if there's pressure, he's not going to get touched. So he'll look fine in practice. I think it's one of those things where you just kind of you'll know after he gets hit if he comes back how he feels. You'll know after he plays, after he gets hit. If he's playing well, then he's ready. If he's kind of shaky or if he's kind of trigger rate happy, he might not be ready to play in this moment. But I think it's just one of those things at quarterback you just got to you got to see on game day. Hopefully he's ready though. I think, but if not, Mikey, he's playing well. I think, as long as they have a great game plan, going forward, then I think they'll be fine. But if hopefully he's Dylan is, he's healthy, and you don't want to rush him back if he's not. I can't stress that enough though. It's one of those things where, you want to beat a good SMU team, but you don't want to jeopardize a player's, health in that sense. If he's not ready, he could get hurt again. And who knows how long he's out for after that. So, it's just one of those things where they'll be cautious. I know Ms. Mary, who's the trainer, she will never put you in a situation where if you're hurt, she's not going to put you out there unless you are able to go. So.
No, I agree. And it's just interesting because a part of me wondered, well, if he's going to play the SMU game, it might be better off he comes back, gets some snaps, it gets too late. It just kind of feels weird if he were to come in. I'm not saying he will, but I'm just as we try to figure out. And then if there's at some point, everybody just decide to, hey, let's just call it a year. That depends on the rehab too. But it's so wild here, Trey, because of the transfer portal and extra year of eligibility now because of COVID.
Yeah.
It's not like it was before where it was precious to, preserve a year. I don't believe that's the case anymore. So I think whenever he's ready to play, I think they're going to play him whenever. And I don't know if there's a set timetable. Do you agree with me on that? Like, it may not be SMU, it may not be UConn, but I think if he is going to play again this year, they'll play him. They're not going to worry about, what's the point?
Yeah, and I mean, again, I think, with the whole transfer portal and really quarterbacks kind of get into it, that's where you see a lot more action. The guys aren't playing, they're going to go They're going to find somewhere to play. It's not one of those positions where, there's 2 or 3 DBs on the field or linebackers or O linemen. It's one quarterback, and that's it. Most of the time you're not rotating guys. You're going to ride out with your starter all year as long as he's playing well. So I think if Dylan's healthy, I think play him. I think Mikey's gotten a lot of experience. That's valuable experience. And then, another thing is you start playing Dylan earlier, and, he plays well. What is he thinking about, going in the offseason? I know he's thinking about the NFL. Let's just realistically, he's thinking about it. So if he's playing, on fire, he had expectations. Probably what I was thinking is he was probably going to try to go after this year. Obviously getting hurt throws a wrench into it. But again, if he doesn't play the rest of the year, I don't see him being able to make that leap just because of injury concerns. So then, what does Mikey do? What does Gatewood do in this offseason? Right. So I think, it'll be interesting. That's why I think, I just think you gotta, if he's healthy, let him go. Unless he just is intent on setting like I'm coming back next year and I'm gonna just use my next year.
Sure.
Then I think you should sit. If that's his plan, he should just sit, write it out. Get completely healthy and be ready for next year. But if he has any kind of thoughts or consideration, if he's considering making that jump, he's got to probably put on. He's probably got to, show that he's healthy and that he's back to being that guy. Or they're always going to have those concerns on, why didn't you come back, after I think we played Louisville week 3 or 4.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, you hurt and it's a broken collarbone. I think that's what he got.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where it's going to be like, what took you so long to heal? That's one of those things where it's supposed to be like, 4 to 6 weeks kind of injury. And then you get back to throwing, but again, they're gonna ask those questions. That's just the nature of the beast.
Well, and again, it was everybody rehabs, everybody kind of heals differently, and again, it's a risky deal because it's football's it's a violent game. You get hit again there, it's a major setback. But I think of a Trey Nixon who had a similar injury last year, in the opener against Georgia Tech, and he decided he came back, cleared to play against Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. So he came back at the end of the year, and then he went pro. So he just
made the leap.
Yep. It's going to be very interesting.
And he went late in the draft. But I think if he gets a full year, even if he might come back for say another year, that could completely change everything. So I think those decisions are tough. He made the right decision because it's his decision. So there's never a wrong decision a kid makes, and I tell people that all the time. But you never know, and I just think that's one of the pressures that come with being a potential NFL guy. When is the right time, especially coming off an injury? And then again, say Mikey Keene these last 2-3 games is putting up 4 touchdowns, and he's actually finally it just clicks and he grasps the playbook. Well, now you have almost a similar to a Mackenzie Dylan Gabriel situation where you have a quarterback that was really good coming back from injury, but you got a guy that's playing really well. Going into the offseason. So, it's one of those things where it's a lot to be in the quarterback room, man. It's a lot of not necessarily egos, but again, you only got one guy. And when you got 2, potentially 3 really good guys, you run into problems. You're going to run into problems. So I think it'll be interesting.
Well, and I think too, every guy has a clock in their head, right? Like Jacob Harris, some people were surprised he left because he could have come back, but he said, I've done my, I've spent enough time here. You can only improve your stock so much.
Exactly.
He trusted himself in the combine and everything, and as far as workouts, and it worked out. He got drafted by the Rams.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So that's the goal. And some guys said, some people just think that you coming back is going to help your, stock. Not necessarily. No. Sometimes it helps.
Yeah, sometimes it hurts your stock because my thing is the longer you stay. If you're already good and you're already making plays, just unless you have like a personal goal, like for instance, me, I wanted to get my degree before any of that conversation happened. If you have a personal goal like that, go by all means come back. But if your goal is like I'm trying to get to the NFL, go make that leap. Strike when the iron's hot. I always tell people that because you come back, they're gonna nitpick your game. That's just the nature of it. It's not necessarily you're a bad player, but they're gonna try to find flaws in everything. Perfect example, Trevor Lawrence. Guys are like, if he comes out after his freshman year, we won the national championship. If he comes out, he'll be a top 3 pick. And then as the year 2 comes, year 3 comes, it's almost like Trevor's doing this wrong. He's doing that wrong. Should he be the number 1 pick? They're just going to start nitpicking your game more and more instead of seeing the great things you do. They're looking for the bad things and find reasons not to, draft you. So it's not always, great to come back just because of that sense. So, I mean,
right. Every case is different.
Exactly. And I think, that's where I think, just talking to your coaches and, talking to the right people, Dylan will have he'll make the right decision that's best for him. Whether he stays, whether he goes, whether anything, it's going to be the right decision no matter what. So.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. If he comes back and plays or he doesn't come back and play, it's either way, it's going to be the right decision.
Exactly.
And I think that's the important thing I wanted to cross the bus. Last thing before I let you go, this team is now bowl eligible.
Yep.
Talk about that from a player standpoint, playing in a bowl game. I know people had higher expectations, but injuries played. I still think the importance of bowl game, you've talked to me about that, about the practice time. It means you get to, stay with your guys longer if you want. Just talk about now. These guys will feel good that they know this more than likely they're going to get an extra game after the South Florida game somewhere.
Yep, exactly. It's one of those things where it's just being able to hang out with your guys. I mean, we can talk about of course, for the practice side of it. I remember Peach Bowl year. We got so many extra practices, and not necessarily for the older guys. It was for some of the younger guys. Just some of those guys that may have redshirted, they can actually, we're just going to, let's see what you can do. We got a couple extra practices. Let's see you play live against the ones on, they were threes on defense. Go play against the ones. Go you've gotten a whole year. You've been a whole year on scout team working on your craft, getting big in the weight room. Let's see what you can do. And I think, I remember when we went to the St. Pete Bowl my freshman year, that's what coach, they sprung it on us. Boom. I remember one day they were like, all right, one's offense, Coach O'Leary, one's offense. And he's like, scout team, let's go. We're live. And we're like, whoa. But, now we're feeling a lot more confident because it's December now. We've been hitting weights every day. We're getting bigger, stronger, faster. And, of course, we got beat, but because those guys are great. But just that confidence you're able to build, we used it to carry over into spring ball. And so I think, just having that opportunity is going to be good for, guys that might not be playing as much or guys that, they might have, hope for in the future. Getting those extra opportunities to practice and play and develop, they're big, especially, the later you play in the year. The further away your bowl game is, the more practice time you have. But mostly, like I tell people, just the relationship you have with those guys, you never want it to end. You never want to see the seniors go you. So, my freshman year, we got to hang out with those guys all the way through Christmas, and we played the 26th. And then the next year we didn't go to a bowl. So everything ended at Thanksgiving with most of those guys. They kind of finished their degrees and they're gone. That's just how it is. And then you have times where you go to the New Year's, all the way to New Year's with guys. So I mean, just those relationships, being able to guarantee yourself at least one more week to, be with your guys. You can't beat that. I think, and what people don't understand, a lot of teams don't get bowl eligible. So especially once you start losing 6, and then you get to that, that 7th loss, a lot of the times, guys, they put that stamp like, okay, last game of the season, that's it. So, I think it's just, I think it's something that you can't take for granted. I don't care if you get exactly 6 wins or if you win all of them, just having the chance to play another week with your guys, I think that's priceless.
Well, then, especially with this roster and the young guys, they'll just continue to grow and learn the scheme some more and the system and everything good. So that's always a good positive from that standpoint. Tre, this has been a blast once again.
Absolutely.
Just keep bringing the wins. Every time you come, they win. So that's good. We'll try to see if we get you back either for UConn or the South Florida game later on in the year. But in the meantime, man, thanks again for joining us and kind of offer your expertise on this one, and be safe, Ben, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Talk to you later.
All right, folks, that's Tre Neal joining us here on the night shift postgame as UCF victorious 14-10, the final. Let's kind of go through some of your comments and questions here before we play the Gus Malzahn postgame. Fallen Hero, the base legend, ugly game. It would have been joyous if Tulsa would have beaten Cincinnati. Boy, that was a crazy game. Cincinnati had to make 2 goal line stands to win 28-26, the final score. Cincinnati holds on against Tulsa, and that one. Mike Doty chiming in. 3rd game in a row where the defense has held the team to only 1 touchdown. That is correct. Defense playing well under Travis Wheeler right now. I think you got to be pleased with the direction of this defense, although I think they're going to get tested here against SMU here next week. That's going to be really that one good offense they're probably going to face the rest of the way on that. As we've talked about, obviously, bowl eligibility. Mike Doty, right and wait. Did Mike actually throw for 229 again? He's like 229, magic number for Mikey King in his deal there. Garrett Weiss mentioning the fact there were some upsets today, and he says we're good with a 10-win season. I don't know. Well, if they could beat SMU, they'll have a shot to do that. And even with that, if they, they would have a shot. We'll see. We'll see. They got to certainly do a big tall order noon next week against SMU. The conference championship tiebreakers. People asking about that. Head-to-head is obviously a big factor there. Here's the problem. They don't play Houston. So it's going to come down to probably common opponents in that scenario or rankings. But you're going to need some help for that to happen. And I'm not sure if that's very feasible. But again, you got to just worry about what you can control, and that's winning football games. And it starts with SMU next week, as UCF was very fortunate. Good defensive win, 14-10. Low scoring game, pretty wild. But the Knights able to figure that out on this. Reminder, this is Night Shift, the post-game show. Eric Lopez here with you. You can subscribe to our YouTube page here at and make sure you like our YouTube page. We have a lot of content. We have Basketball Media Day videos on our YouTube page right now. Make sure we have a blackandgoldbanneret.com for all the latest. We got men's basketball and women's basketball season to get underway. Duquesne on Tuesday, and the men will open. The men will open on Wednesday. Of course, the big ones there. Women open on Tuesday, so keep that in mind from that standpoint. As I'm trying to load up the video right now and see if we get to that. But again, so basketball season gets going. Men's soccer tournament will get underway next weekend in Tulsa. UCF's men's soccer is a 2 seed. Women's soccer waiting their fate, 4:30 on Monday. It's looking like a long shot for them to make the NCAA tournament. They haven't gotten the help they needed this week. Their RPI is around the 59 range, according to people that kind of break this down in depth. And so we'll just see how that goes from that standpoint. But good win. It's a good win, and we'll see what happens with them. So that's kind of the story in the Olympic sports going on right now. And certainly for UCF, it's that's going to be a tough pill to swallow for women's soccer. All right, we're going to play now a little bit of the Gus Malzahn postgame here in a shortly. And here we go. This is the Gus Malzahn postgame.
I mean, I'm real proud of them. I think 5 sacks again. Just did a super job. Our special teams probably had their best game. We were very stressed about that kick returner. He's dynamic. And, of course, that last Baker made the tackle in the open space right there, made a super play. I think we downed the football on the 1 yard line. That was a huge play in getting us field position, especially at the end. And just did a good job on special teams. Offensively, it was ugly at times, but our guys found a way. We had the touchdown call back. That was a momentum killer. We didn't get any points out of that. That was real tough. And I'm real proud of our offense from the standpoint they hung in there. There wasn't a whole lot of good things that were happening. They hung in there, and they made the play at the very end, hit Brandon right there. We did the kind of the stack. We've been throwing out the perimeter on that, and Brandon sold it really good, and Mikey made a good throw, and we're 3-0 in the second half. That's the bottom line. I'm real proud of our team. College football wins are hard to come by. Our crowd was outstanding. I mean, our crowd willed us to win again, and it's just been so impressive. It's an unbelievable home field advantage, and really appreciate our fans. Questions?
Coach, why do you think it was so difficult running the ball tonight?
They played some odd. They played some bear. They were coming from the field. They were mixing things up. They had an excellent plan. I didn't do a great job adjusting early enough, to be honest with you. But they had a good plan, and they did a good job.
Because they stopped the run, Mike had to throw the ball a ton.
Yeah. Well, they were daring us to throw. I mean, that has something to do with it too. I think he did some good things. I mean, the third downs, couple third downs, we'd like to have back. There's no doubt in the first half, but he made a really good throw under pressure to Brandon. They came field pressure. We faked the reverse off of it. There was a guy coming. He went to the left, made a really good throw, and of course the last one was excellent. Excellent throw also.
Coach, kind of a theme for you throughout the season so far has been talking about big plays for the offense, but tonight the defense stop the big plays from happening. Talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, and they've done a good job. We've given up very few deep balls over the top. I mean, we've kept everything in front of us, and it's all about us stopping the run. When we stop the run, that's exactly what happens. And that quarterback was back. He's been playing a lot of football. They've got 2 running backs I'm very impressed with. And so overall, I mean, to hold up, what did we hold them to, 10 points? I mean, that's hard to do in college football. Last week, if we'd have kept our ones in, we'd had a shutout. I mean, we're starting to play really, really good football and defense.
Coach, you've had to endure a lot of injuries this year. I guess it's only fitting that you would go down.
Yeah, guys, that was embarrassing.
What happened?
Well, it was after a big play, and I was getting ready to get the offense up. And Quadric Bullard, he weighs more than 157 pounds, okay? And he smoked me. And went down and right there like, whoa, and got back up and just kind of limped around the rest of the game. So kind of embarrassing. I'll be fine. I'll be all right.
You don't conceal injuries, or you don't reveal injuries. A knee, ankle, what is it?
It's a knee. Yeah, and they checked it out just a minute ago. So it was, I'll be all right.
Day to day or week to week?
I'll be ready tomorrow. I don't care. I'm ready tomorrow. I'm not going to be out for nothing.
Coach, you mentioned Brandon a couple of times tonight. How important is it to have a veteran guy like him in your
Oh yeah, I mean, him and O'Keefe. I mean, they've really carried the water for our offense. I mean, those 2 guys are just trying to get them the ball different ways. And but Brandon is a savvy guy. He's a veteran guy. And then O'Keefe, he's electric. We just try to figure out ways to get him the ball. Obviously, they were keen on him tonight, but he had the big one on the third down, went right by the guy, and that kind of helped us open things up on third down after that.
Coach, how would you describe the attitude, the identity the defense has developed over the last 3 years?
Yeah, they're taking on Travis's personality. Travis was a dynamic player himself, and he's doing a super job, him and the staff. Our defense is growing. You've seen it each week, and starting to settle in. And, man, we're tackling well. We're putting pressure on the quarterback. If you remember first 4 games, it was like, hey, we're going to be able to sack the quarterback. Well, now you can see, I mean, they're pinning their ears back and they're getting after the quarterback.
You see out of Bryson Armstrong tonight. Talk about getting after the quarterback. He certainly was.
Yeah, I mean, Bryson's a football player. I mean, he's just an old school football player. He started out at nickel. We moved him inside about 4 weeks ago, and he's starting to really settle in and play really good football. He's also a really good special teams player.
Coach, how proud are you that you guys have hung in there, found a way to win games? You're the first bowl-eligible team in the state of Florida.
Hey, how about that? Yeah, there we go. Hey, bowl-eligible. Golly, that's a good that's good to hear right there. I'm proud of our team, and we've had some ups and downs. We're really close to winning a couple others. We've had some tough losses. Our guys hang in there. We got champions, and I'm just so blessed that I inherited this bunch of players. They're wonderful human beings. They do everything you ask. Got a lot of winter in them, and now we're set up. We got 3 more. We got to finish.
What's it mean to get to a bowl game?
It's good. And especially the first year, you get extra practices and develop your young guys. There's a lot more to it than just the actual game, but it's also a reward for our players and our fans and all that. So real exciting, a lot of positive with that.
Coach, you talked a lot about the attacking the quarterback up front and in basically the past few games in general. After starting out the beginning of the year, it didn't have quite as many sacks. Is that kind of proof of the concept of the back half improvement you're asking for?
And I think, too, though, at the first, they were learning the defense, okay? The defense coaches were learning our personnel. We started settling in. We put people in the same position, and we're able to have some continuity and build upon things, and that's what you see now.
As you're building the foundation for years to come, tonight's a game that could have gone the other way easily. What's a win do as you continue to get that foundation?
Yeah, here's the bottom line. College football wins are hard to come by, and you always don't play your best. But good teams find a way to win those games that you may not play your best, and they pick each other up. And that's what you saw tonight. And so, real happy, proud of our team, the way that we battled. And we knew it was going to be a dogfight. I mean, that bunch, they played Oklahoma to the end. I mean, they could have won the game. And they played Cincinnati probably better than anybody has also. So they got some good players. They got some good coaches. We're glad to win the game.
We saw Jalen Robinson go through warm-up.
Yeah.
Was he just maybe not quite there to get back out and play?
Yeah. He practiced 2 weeks ago, and we just felt like, not quite ready. He was more improved this past week, so he was available in like an emergency situation. We're hoping he makes the same progress this week, and he'll be ready to go with that.
Isaiah Bowser went down in medical family.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it may have been an ankle or something like that. I mean, he's battled. And Johnny gave us a good spark when he came in. Mark Anthony on the 4th and 1. It was 4th and 1. They knew we were getting the ball. Our line did a good job, and Mark really drove his feet. That was a big play in the game, because you kind of think, hey, do we kick a field goal there, or do you go ahead and, our mentality and our offensive guys, let's win the game. Forget about tying it.
Did you make it the Spirit Splash yesterday?
Yeah.
How did you like that?
Yeah. First of all, I was completely shocked there'd be that many people out there when it's pouring down rain, and went out there like, wow, this is a special place, and so, and they say when it's sunny, there's twice as many people. I don't know how you fit twice as many people, but it was a great experience.
What's to say about Mark Anthony, not really playing much tonight, coming in and get that big fourth?
Yeah. Mark, he's been there. He's been there when our teams needed him. And, he's a young back that's growing, and, he's always ready. Okay. Thank y'all. All
right. That was Gus Malzahn, his post-game press conference following UCF's win. He's okay after that little injury scare. I know Garrett Weiss was worried about him. He asked about how's Gus doing. Now you got your answer on that. So that'll be that's good. So that's a good win there for the Knights. 14-10 is the final there. All right, that will do it for this edition of Night Shift. A reminder to subscribe to our YouTube page. We'll have more shows like this, as well as content, post-game pressers, and things like that. Basketball season getting underway, as I've mentioned, and much more. We'll thankfully listen to the other sports for UCF as it gets going as well, with men's soccer trying to win a conference championship, volleyball doing very well. Follow blackandgoldbanneret.com for all the latest. Follow us, like us on Facebook, and as well as on Twitter. Make sure you go to our Twitter page as well. A little bit of a drama there. Well, I'm not going to get into it, what happened there, because, well, quite frankly, I still don't know what happened. But nonetheless, our Twitter handle is UCF Banneret _SBN. So that'll do it for this edition. We're glad you tuned in. Thanks to Tre Neal for joining us here on the program once again. And reminder that certainly we have a chance to have this show again next week. Andrew Glukoff and Kyle Nash will be hosting the SMU postgame, at least scheduled to. And we are scheduled to have Aaron Evans on that show. And as you heard, hopefully we'll have Tre back for the home games finales against UConn and South Florida. We'll keep you updated on that. So, for Tre Neal, I'm Eric Lopez. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Night Shift. Final score, one more time, UCF 14 and Tulane 10. This has been Night Shift on the Black and Gold Banneret.